Just what were the best and worst moments on and off the chessboard from the last month of play? Magnus Carlsen puts up a 3,000 rated plus performance in Leuven, but has he truly recovered from his not-so-smooth interview with Grandmaster Maurice Ashley? And with the big news that Garry Kasparov plans to return to official FIDE-rated chess in St. Louis, our team catches up with his team to find out if there are any further plans for an unretirement by the king. You ask the questions, we provide the answers. It's ChessCenter. It's happening now.
Breaking news, Danny, because the Grand Chess Tour organizers have announced that nobody else than Garry Kasparov will be playing in the St. Louis Rapid and Blitz in mid-August in St. Louis. Yes, it's true. No, we're not dreaming here. The boss himself, who retired in 2005 and over the last 12 years did not play any official chess games, only some exhibition games and simuls. He will actually be back in the arena and playing FIDE-rated games. URS-rated games, Universal Rating System, which is used by the Grand Chess Tour, and he will affect the actual Grand Chess Tour standing. So he's going to be back, and he's going to be play officially.
Well, is this a sign of things to come? As the article said, he is coming out of retirement. Does that mean more for the future?
Well, I reached out to the Kasparov team with exactly that question, Danny, and well, they actually told me that at the moment there are no other plans for Garry to play after the St. Louis Rapid and Blitz. But even if it's only for this tournament, it's just amazing. Our news report reached over 100 comments in less than 24 hours. 99% of the members going crazy, and yeah, everyone is really looking forward to this event where Garry Kasparov will be back in the arena.
Our moves of the week, now more like moves of the month, starts with Magnus Carlsen. Surely the world champion moves his knight to safety here, right, Simon?
Well, that's what you'd think, but Magnus Carlsen is divant gravy, and in this position he just brings another piece into the attack. He plays bishop to f5, allowing his knight to be taken after a takes b4, a takes b4. Look at that rook. The rook is going to swing down, and it does, after knight takes d5, rook to a1 check, king to d2, and now the queen joins in. It's a bloodbath, a bit like, a red bloodbath, maybe the color of my beard. Danny, can you feel that?
Ginger. Yeah. And the attack continues.
It does. Queen takes b2, queen takes c7, rook takes d1 check, and after king takes d1, the black queen comes around the back, queen to a1 check, king to d2, and finally queen to e1 checkmate. Very nice.
The month of June kicked off with the Altibox Norway Chess Super Tournament. Here to tell us how it broke down is Peter Dockers.
Hey Danny, yeah, it's been a while already, but the start of the month there was the Altibox Norway Chess Tournament, and it was won by Leuven Aronian. A great success for the Armenian #1, who also won the Grenke chess tournament a month before. So yeah, it seems at least in classical chess he's fully back. But the big story maybe for this event was that Magnus Carlsen actually played the worst tournament in about a decade. He scored 4 out of 9 only, a minus score. He had losses to Aronian and Kramnik. And yeah, actually at one point he was only 1 game away of losing the #1 spot in the world rankings. So pretty serious slump for the world champ there at the start of the month.
The third best moment from the month of June as we take a look back is going to go to Magnus Carlsen for his 3,014 rating performance at the Leuven, Belgium Rapid and Blitz. We haven't seen a spike above 3,000 come that much out of the blue since Bitcoin's performance pretty much every other week.
And at #2 goes to Grandmaster Alexandra Kosteniuk, fulfilling what she called the last major milestone of her career, winning the World Team Championship gold medal. It was also Russia's first, and it was done on home soil.
#1's going to go to our own Maria Emrilanova. Miss Lova, as she is known on social media, had a photo go completely viral. It was a part of Reddit's Photoshop contest, and never have we seen a chess photo capture more of those awkward and truly sincere emotions on a golden plate. Would the world champion find his form after the Norway Chess Super Tournament? Here to bring us the news from the Paris leg of the Grand Chess Tour is Peter Dockers.
Yeah, well, the answer is yes and no. Magnus did win his very next tournament after that disastrous Norway Chess. He tied for first with Maxime Vacher-Lagrave in the Paris Grand Chess Tour and then won the playoff. But in that Blitz, the last day of the Blitz, he lost 3 games in a row, one of them against Hikaru Nakamura. So still looked a little bit shaky. And well, after his victory, I spoke with him, and let's listen to that. Yeah, and of course Norway Chess was not your tournament at all. So how important was it to immediately strike back with a victory?
It's very important, and hopefully I can continue the good trend now into Leuven. There are clearly still things to work on, but it was a huge step and in the right direction. So maybe I can lower my shoulders a bit and have some fun there.
Our first blunder comes to us from Jabava, whose nightmare was worse than pretty much every Freddy Krueger sequel. Tell everybody how he managed to lose this position as white.
I mean, I feel for this guy. He's such a great player, but he was having an absolute disaster. And in this position where he's been trying to grind down MVL, he now plays rook to c5. Oh dear. And after king to d6, he has to go and cry in a corner somewhere, I think, because that rook is trapped. Rook c8 runs into bishop d7 check. Oh no. Danny, how would you feel doing that? How would you feel?
I would feel about as bad as Jabava did and resign on the spot, which is what he did after his rook was trapped. But it seemed that this theme of hanging your rook was something that was happening in June all over the place. And this position, Nepomniachtchi made a similar mistake. Tell everybody what that was.
Well, he did indeed. I mean, these guys just didn't like their rooks in this. Okay, it's blitz chess, but it's still horrible blunders. And here, black plays rook to b8. And this is a terrible move because white plays the quite clever g4 here. And now the defense of e5 drops. So after queen takes h4, white just plays queen takes e5 with a nasty little check, picking up the rook on b8. So that's another right. Rook. Say goodbye.
Regardless of what was motivating the world champion, the bottom line is he dominated in Leuven. Give us the details of how Magnus Carlsen played to wrap up the Grand Chess Tour Rapid and Blitz.
Yeah, well, I think we can call his victory in Leuven, your next move, Grand Chess Tour, a smooth victory in the end. He wasn't leading after the Rapid. Actually, Wesley So was 2 points ahead of him. Wesley doing much better than in Paris. But we saw an absolutely phenomenal Magnus Carlsen in the Blitz. That's actually the words that Garry Kasparov also used to describe it. Carlsen finished on 14.5 out of 18 Blitz games. And yeah, that was reminding me, for example, of Bobby Fischer's great performance in Herceg Novi in the early 70s. It was a truly amazing performance by Magnus. And I think by now he has almost all of his confidence back. And he might show it again also in classical chess in the Sinquefield Cup.
He took our third best moment, but now he takes the third worst moment as we flip that coin. Magnus Carlsen didn't play very good chess at the Altibox Norway Chess Super Tournament in his hometown, and he left fans wondering whether the world champion will ever be in perfect form when he defends his home turf.
And sticking with the theme of Magnus playing on home turf, number 2 goes to Aegon, and their lack of transparency has caused the Norwegian government to pull out of the bidding process for the next World Championship. It turns out Norwegians don't mind paying those high taxes, but they do want to know where their money goes.
And the number one worst moment to happen in the month of June goes to our own website, Mike. I bet you'll never forget what the number 2,147,483,647 means again. We certainly won't ever make that mistake again, though it did lead to some pretty funny press on the webosphere and some spikes in traffic, I can tell you. Again, it's not the kind of black eye we ever want to have again. With all this tension in the room, it makes you wonder if Magnus Carlsen and Maurice Ashley should update their relationship status on Facebook. Anna, your thoughts?
Danny, I think for that they would need to be friends on Facebook first. But it is true that everybody in the chess world and outside the chess world is speaking of the two after the controversial interview at the Paris Grand Chess Tour and now this photo that Maria Emelianova has taken at the Leuven prize-giving ceremony. I think that in the end, any press is good, so it's great to see that a chess photo ended up being the main picture in a Reddit Photoshop battle.
The Pro Chess League announced the 2018 qualifier system as well as which teams got the automatic berth to move on. Is the league and the commissioner in the wrong for making one of their criteria for choosing teams marketability?
Absolutely not. First of all, it wasn't the top criteria. And secondly, every professional sports league does this, awarding based on marketability. Otherwise, we'd have an NBA team in Wyoming with 500 fans each night. The Canadian Championships just ended in a playoff bit of controversy. We learned an upside-down rook is not, in fact, a queen. It's a rook. But all three parties had some blame, Danny. Who do you give the most to?
You got to start with the player for not knowing the rule about promoting and turning over a rook. Then you got to move some blame over to the arbiter for not following the entire controversy more closely, including video footage. But to me, the most blame has to go to the opponent. Bator Sembuev held a queen in his hand for up to 8 minutes, apparently, and then said later he didn't know he was hiding it. Seems like a pretty unethical thing to do to me. Now, the Pro-Am event that took place at the Players Tribune offices in New York showed grandmasters paired up with former professional athletes and current professional athletes. The one showing the most promise was John Urschel, but were there any other sleepers in the crowd?
There was definitely one. 4 out of 5 points. Former Hornet, former Nick, Larry Johnson. He showed up that morning claiming to not know how the pieces moved. We found out later he could mate with the best of them. I'd estimate his rating at about 1,400. He's a pretty good sandbagger, too.
I knew you'd give love to the former Hornet.
Recently, Garry Kasparov continued his book promotion tour, this time with a TED Talk where he embraces machine intelligence. Does this mean he's finally come full circle after that bitter loss to IBM's Deep Blue?
Come full circle on his resentment toward IBM and forgive a loss? I doubt Kasparov would ever do that, but recognize the opportunity to market himself and maybe make some profit? I do think he did that. Mamedyarov broke 2,800 in June. Leuven Aronian won the Granky tournament in May, and then the Norway Chess Super Tournament. Is the world champion Magnus Carlsen no longer the best classical chess player on the planet?
We love visiting this topic. I know everybody wants a challenger to Carlsen, and there's a few that are rising, but you know, what have Federer and Nadal taught us? You gotta do something over 6 years, not 6 months, in order to be considered the best in the world. And finally, Danny, the Chess Journalists of America have nominated Peter Doggers as Chess Journalist of the Year. What do you give his chances at?
His only real competition is talking across from me right now, and somehow you didn't get a nod this year, Mike. Maybe we'll fix that next year, but I consider Peter Doggers a shoo-in. Surely the world champion moves his attacked knight to safety, right, Magnus?
Well, I mean,
called you Magnus.
Call me Magnus. That's. I'll take that.
Moving back to the Chess.com covered events, we had. I don't know why I said that.
In a row for Leuven Aronian, who also was.
Magnus just plays A5, a great move.
No,
he doesn't play A5, Bishop F5, sorry, yeah.
He doesn't play A5.
He doesn't play A5. Should probably know the bloody position first, shouldn't I? Okay, let's try again.
You probably
Bishop
know
F5.
what position we're talking about before you start talking about it. All right, here we go.
Okay.